Good. So, hello everyone. I'm happy that you could make it today and participate in our first coffee break. And today on a very important topic. And the participants are all women today, so it hints at the topic a little bit. You probably won't ask the same question if the panel was all men, but maybe that question is left for a different time. So let me briefly introduce the topic, which is women in the battery sector. And representation is in the workforce is a very complex and controversial topic in general. And when we look at the numbers behind female representation in the energy sector, there's a few interesting observations we can make. So first of all, it's generally a positive trend. So there's a growing overall percentage of patents filed by female inventors. And female representation, on the other hand, especially in energy-related industries, has been quite stagnant. So it's around 35%, at least by 2017. And not to mention that there's only listed like 11% of the patents in the energy sector are filed by women, which is not that great if you look at maybe other sectors. And they are also underrepresented in the number of founders of companies created during the last 10 years. So if you look at the energy sector, it's quite low. And there's also fewer women that reach senior roles in the energy sector than in the broader economy. And also less participation in gender diversity initiatives. So at least here in the slide we can see in terms of academic qualifications, there is not such a big imbalance. So most of the people that are employed in the energy sector have roughly the same academic qualifications. Yes, so unfortunately, in the male-dominated fields, which is STEM, which include like science, technology, engineering and mathematics degrees, the chances of women finding employment is still quite low and they are underrepresented. And in 2017, only around 20 to 27% of total graduates were female in these degrees. But in the end, all those obstacles can be overcome, which we can see today with the participants. And this is especially true in the booming renewable industry sector, where they found in studies that it has an increased appeal to women, which is related, according to the study, to the sector's need for knowledge from different kind of disciplines, as well as the democratized energy future that it represents. And this kind of positive development can be encouraged by, for example, by this coffee break, that we increase the visibility of women in these kind of sectors, that we support mentoring networking programs and ask for more corporate responsibility. So for CoFBAT and also the partners, they have committed to the guidance on gender equality in Horizon 2020 to foster this gender balance. And this is one of the reasons why we are here today. And we want to use our platform to increase the visibility of women in STEM, as well as listening to their experiences in the battery sector. So I'm very happy to have you three here today. So we have one of them is Marianne from Spain, who graduated as a mechanical engineer and did her PhD on electrical engineering about lithium-ion batteries at the University of Ulm, and is currently working at CIC Energy Gune as a postdoctoral researcher. Then we also have Maitane, which is also from Spain, graduated with a master's in engineering in renewable energies and did a PhD titled Development of an Accurate State of Health Estimation Technique for Lithium-ion Batteries, and currently works at the Vrije Universiteit of Brussels, VUB, as professor and leader of the battery team. And last but not least, there's Iraxe, also from Spain, very Spanish panel today, who studied the chemistry with a postgraduate focus on inorganic material science, and did her PhD at the University of the Basque Country, initially on perovskite type oxide synthesis and psychochemical characterization of, sorry, it's a little bit difficult, of solid oxide fuel cells. And she now works as a researcher and project manager at CDTech Energy Storage as a team leader on advanced lithium-ion batteries. So let's give the word finally to you. Let's maybe start with Marianne. So why did you choose to work in the battery sector?
Thank you, Emil, for the organization. And in my case, I started, after my degree in engineering, I started working on renewable energies by that time, so solar and wind energy. And it was already 10 years ago, a bit more. And by that time, it was starting in the station, so it was starting the stationary application of batteries. It was much less than today, but mainly in these circles, there was a need for storage. Let's say in order to can increase the levels of renewables in some countries due to grid restrictions. So for me, this called my attention. And when I have to decide to do a PhD, instead of choosing renewables, I convince myself, okay, if this is going to be the future, and also reading how multidisciplinary this field is. So you have chemistry, but also a lot of engineering details, electrical, thermal. So I think for me, this was very stimulating, and that's why I chose to enter in this sector, yeah.
Okay, yeah, understandable, yeah, very interesting. How about next one, Maitane, how about you?
Thank you, Emil. As well, I want to share thanks for organizing this and to the CoFBAT project as well. It is a pleasure to be here sharing this time together with you, talking about this very important topic, and also being together with Irache and Marianne. It's a pleasure to be here at this round table. Coming to the question, well, in my case, since I was a kid, I had a passion for, well, more mathematics, physics and chemistry. That was really my cup of tea, and I was really amazed on understanding the working principle of things. No? So then when I was more a grown-up, I decided to do engineering, and it also came with my passion of having and being part of a better world. So that's why I also went to renewable energies in my master's degree. And therefore I started my PhD on batteries, and I really believe that this is what I really wanted to do. And I share as well the multidisciplinarity point that Marianne highlighted. I really believe that is really enriching, and it has a lot of input from many different fields that makes you feel that you are not only focusing on one topic, but on many different ones at the same time.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So you have a lot in common. It's interesting. Yeah, yeah. So how about Iraxa? Is there something? Yeah. Why did you choose to work in the battery sector?
Yeah. In my case, I mean, when still a kid, I read a lot, and particularly a lot of science fiction, things like Jules Verne, and so I was kind of on the way to choose studies on science. So, and in that sense, yeah, between physics, mathematics, chemistry, I went into the to make a baccalaureate in chemistry at the Science and Technology faculty at the University of the Basque Country. So starting more from the chemical background, which is, I will say, the representation of women is higher than in engineering careers, in fact. So I didn't feel the imbalance in the case of the chemistry is not as much, and there are quite a lot of women doing studies. Then it's more on the postgraduate point at which yeah, you start to see fewer women and so on. But going into the particularly onto energy, on my case was coming from the chemical studies, then the opportunity given at the last year at of the university course to enter a lab and do some research. And it was by chance, in fact, that ended working on this kind of solid oxide fuel cells that are devices for energy conversion, in fact. So that was my gateway, coming from chemistry and from materials synthesis into all these interdisciplinary background, which is, I think, is quite alluring and interesting for research-minded individuals to be able to then explore different areas of knowledge. Electrochemistry. I entered electrochemistry due to that, and this brings them to the battery sector quite directly. So energy storage and conversion devices, and making things then that work and power other machines, and particularly now all our modern society, from all the electronics, portable devices, electric vehicles, other transportation modes, renewables. It's kind of that you are in the thick of it, of making a more sustainable society and sustainable world in general. That we need to take care of this to be able to continue growing as a civilization and as humans, to be on this. So kind of, I will say, particularly on the battery sector, by chance, after kind of having a more kind of general science or research-oriented mindset, in my case.
Okay. Yeah, so this, all of your backgrounds, very, very interesting, I have to say. You share a lot of the same goals or pathways that brought you to the battery sector. So let's have a look at a question. And yes, I would ask you to maybe have a look and discuss a little bit. So how has the gender representation changed in the battery sector in your country? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, well, maybe I can comment a bit, having not gone outside Spain work-wise in the sector, because yeah, here Marian and Maitane have additional experiences and views in other European countries, and they can comment. I will say within Spain. In fact, I was for a time working at the battery manufacturing company for some time, and it was well, manufacturing alkaline batteries, so just the primary cells here in the Basque Country, between Oñati and Vitoria, Segasa. And particularly since it was a production company making these small AA or AAA alkaline cells, entering into the possibilities of exploring lithium-ion technologies at the time, also to produce. It was majoritarily a male workforce, from the workers at the production lines up to the management level. On the research team, it was one woman only. Then with when staff started to grow, there was additional women, but it was still something that probably was at the very beginning well below 10% of the total staff in the company. Only on administrative work, I will say that there were more women. But this is kind of it was the situation like 10 years ago, and I have to say that, and then also with kind of more research and technology development, particularly here, a lot of research centers, technological centers, bringing the gap between academy and production and industry in our sector. This has changed quite, I would say, exponentially. I think there is more representation. It's true also that there are more women coming out of technical studies, engineering particularly. As I was mentioning, in chemistry, there was already quite a good balance. And in the battery sector, from chemistry and material science, there is quite a direct flow onto the battery sector. And now it's in fact the last 5 years, and I hope also for the next at least 5 to 10 years, this our sector is growing up a lot overall. So this gap has been breached and covered recently in quite a large degree, I will say.
It's good to hear. Very good. I saw Matane wanted to add something. Please go ahead.
Yes, well, I agree with the vision of Irache, and I would like also, as she was mentioning, complement a little bit with my experience in Belgium. So I can start a little bit as well. When I was studying at university, this was as well in the Basque Country, but we were only 2 women in the full class. It was not a huge class. Maybe we were around 20, 22, but we were only 2 women participating in this course of engineering. And now I'm teaching. I'm involved in teaching at Brussels, and still is male dominant. Half of the class, more than half of the class, is male. It's men, but I can see that there is an increase. I would say that 1/3 of the class is we are women interested in batteries specifically, which is, I think, already a good achievement, even though it needs to be to higher numbers, no? And also in research, I can share as well my experience. Now I have a team of around 26, 27 people, and we are in total 7 women, counting with me. It's not the number that I would like to have as a 50-50, but it's challenging. It's there. We are not a lot out there, women in this field, and I hope it will change towards the future. But having 7 out of 27, I consider it today a good number.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think so too. Marianne, do you want to add something, or would you want to maybe reply to the second question?
I can answer. Well, I can add just briefly to the
Sure.
previous question. That yeah, so I have seen, mainly answering Irache, I have seen differences between European countries. So when I was in Germany, in the research, but also briefly in the industry, I realized that it is not only Spain, but other European countries, females are very, very underrepresented. And I have to say, because I have been in research and the industry, as Irache was pointing out, that the differences were higher in the industry. In one of the companies, luckily, we could see a generational change, because the 3 women from the engineering team, we were all around 30. So before us, there was no women in the company, let's say, and you could see at least that now this number was increasing. In research, I have to say that the numbers are higher, and especially in the center I am now, we are in the parity. We are around 50% females, and also in leadership positions. So I think luckily things are changing. But as Maitane was pointing, I'm also engineering. I also study engineering, and the numbers there are still much lower. When I studied, we were around 10%. But I think the trends are very positive, because year by year the number of women were increasing. So I think in that sense was a positive news.
Yeah, if you want to, you can also tell us a little bit about the kind of challenges that you think women face when working in this in the battery sector or in the energy sector in general.
Well, I think this eventually is a difficult question, because I have only worked in this field, so for me it's a bit difficult to compare with other fields, let's say. But well, in general, challenges come sometime. In my case now, I'm recently since a year a mother, so of course always to combine working life with your duties at home is a challenge. But I think this nowadays also changing, with flexibility at the working place, allowing for home office, flexible time schedules, and also right now in Spain we have equal maternity and paternity leaves. I think all these facts are in fact helping women to stay in this sector, and also to want to take higher responsibilities that eventually in previous times was difficult to take it as an option, and in many cases probably it was also not given as an option. No, men were choosing for promotions in the past, I guess, and I think this still need to change, but I think we are in the good path.
Yes, it's good to hear. Maitane, Irache, you would like to add something?
Well, I totally agree with what Marian has said now. Actually, I think as well that we have been living in this era that men are dominant in this field, in batteries, in energy, in engineering, and somehow it is taken by granted that they know about it. So if we are in a interview, in a work interview, we give for granted that the male knows what he's talking about, but the women needs to really show, demonstrate, always bringing facts, references, very well documented, and we really need to go farther for the same objective. So that because we are in this mindset that male know, but women, no, they don't know so well what they are talking about, I would say. And additionally to this, on the kids' perspective, I think in Spain it's amazing, this equality parental leave that they have for men and women. And in this sense, I would like to expand it as well in the taking care, because the taking care is always given to the woman, to the role, the female role, and this I think needs to be still shared more in the taking care of the kids, in the taking care of family, in the taking care of someone that is ill, and in the taking care of the daily activities. And this also influences, because at the end your time is reduced for other activities, including your work. So I think there we need to have the participation of everybody, no, regardless if we are men or women, in the taking care of everything.
Okay, again.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I don't have anything more to add to what Marian and now Maitane has said. Also, just putting a +1, particularly on the kind of a caretaker role that, because in my case, I don't have kids, but taking care of your parents and so on. I fully agree with what Marian and Maitane have presented. But good thing is that we are living these interesting times in which, yes, you were mentioning regarding parental maternal leaves in Spain, for instance, there's been kind of a big change just in a few years on this parity. So we are on the good path then to be able to push further on equality then at the workplace, and mainly these topics and predispositions that Maitane was mentioning regarding what is thought for granted in the case of a male on interviewing for a position and for promotions, as Marian mentioned, instead in comparison with what typically was asked of women, that you needed to demonstrate your capabilities, your knowledge, and so on. Thankfully, it's been, I think it's a generational change, and we have been able to turn the tide and go on the right path in the last decade, likely.
Okay, so we luckily we also covered this question. So we also you talked a little bit about what needs to change, what other obstacles there are. So we can go to the closing remarks. So I would like to ask each one of you, so what kind of message, or what message would you like to give out to women who are thinking about getting into the energy or into the battery sector? Maybe Marianne, you would like to start?
Yes. So I would like to say, I think was already mentioned before, that, but in general, this was said for batteries, that they power everything. So from mobility to your electricity at home, to the heating, at the end, maybe we don't realize how important the energy is in our life. Maybe now that the electricity bills are increasing I think the talk is also now in the public sector. So people are talking about electricity and energy. But in general, I would like to send them the message that the energy sector is very interesting from one side, because not only on the battery sector, but also other technologies, they are very multidisciplinary, and a lot of disciplines has a space like chemistry, physics, engineering. And I think it's a very important sector for the future, because right now we also have some lack of, well, there's a lack of the standard conventional combustion energies, and we also need to shift to more sustainable ones, because the climate change, I think, is a fact. And this year, more than ever, all the experts are saying we need to make a change. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting sector due to this reason, and there will be new challenges for the future. So new technologies will need to come up, like hydrogen, post-lithium-ion technologies in the battery sector. So I think it's very interesting on the one side, challenging, and it also impacts the life of everyone at the end. Yeah.
And Irak, what kind of message would you like to give?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a moreover, no, on what Marian has said, stressing this also the exciting and interesting and very challenging but rewarding work that can be done in the energy sector in general. Now that the ones that we are here working on batteries, but other technologies that we are pushing, or we are working on this kind of forefront that you are generating new knowledge, trying to push forward new technologies that will be that will bring a better life to everyone, no, and that can be sustainable. So we can continue as a race in Earth, in this world, without destroying it, no, and that there are no particular barriers that they should bring women out of this sector. Particularly, there's been this kind of ceiling at in any of, namely any technical or more production or industry-oriented work, but this has changed, so that there shouldn't be anything limiting the participation of women on the career path. I think, yeah, for in universities, in training, there is already work done, and things have changed. So going forward onto the energy sector as a career or work path, then just please continue coming, and we are working on exciting technologies, and that this is highly rewarding for everyone. If you want to follow up on more research, technical oriented work, and kind of every day having some different challenges to spice up a bit your work day.
Okay, great. So for the last one, Maitane, what kind of or what message would you like to send out?
Well, what I would like to say as a closing remark is that we, as we have said, we have progressed a lot. However, we still need to go a long way together to have this gender balance in batteries. Precisely, we need to continue with visibility, and I want to thank you for this excellent action that we are doing today with excellent and high-level researchers that we have today around the table, and also, for example, with actions like Battery 2030 Plus that Christina Erston, Professor Christina Erston, she is the image, she is the female on batteries, and I think this also a push. However, visibility still we need to continue with that, but I think we need to take actions as well. And for this, I would like to know, for example, high positions, CFOs, CEOs, directors, how do they really interact normally? In this case, they are male. So what do they do to have female directors, no, together with them? What do they really do in practical days or in practical ways to cover this gap? And actually, this brings me to my, let's say, last remark, that everybody counts. Definitely women needs to be visible, but the participation of men, how do they help us in achieving this goal and in achieving this balance is needed. And I think now it's a moment that they also take action and they showcase what do they do to bring us to the goal of gender balance in batteries and in energy.
Okay, well, I couldn't have said it better. So thank you so much for being present here today and sharing your experiences and your thoughts about the topic today, women in the battery sector. And I wish you all the best in your careers. And maybe I will see you soon at a conference or somewhere else. So yeah, thank you very much. And I think we can stop the recording.
Thank
Yes.
you, Emil.
Thank you, Emil.